Hi, my name is Anissa Mejia, and today I'll be talking about the mineral copper, which is a small but essential nutrient that plays a big role in keeping our bodies functioning properly. So, starting with the main functions, copper is involved in a lot more than what people realize. First, it's a major helper in energy metabolism. Copper is part of enzymes in the electron transport chain, which is basically how our cells make ATP. Without enough copper, our cells literally struggle to produce energy efficiently. Copper also plays a huge role in blood health because it helps the body absorb, transport, and use iron. Iron gets a lot of attention, but copper is like the behind the scenes player, making sure iron actually gets where it needs to go. Another big function is connective tissue formation. Copper helps make collagen and elastin, which support our bones, skin, tendons, and blood vessels. Finally, copper supports antioxidant defenses. It's part of the enzyme superoxide dismutase, which helps protect cells from oxidative stress, basically preventing cell damage. Copper deficiency is uncommon, but when it does happen, the effects can be pretty serious. One of the biggest signs is anemia, specifically a type that looks very similar to iron deficiency anemia. Anemia basically means your red blood cells or your hemoglobin levels are too low to carry oxygen efficiently. When this happens, people usually feel extremely tired, weak, short of breath, dizzy, or they get cold really easily. What makes copper-related anemia tricky is that someone might keep taking more iron, but it won't fix the problem, because the real issue is that copper is needed to transport and use iron. Other symptoms of deficiency can include weakened immunity, poor wound healing, and in more severe or long-term cases, even bone abnormalities or neurological issues like numbness or tingling. People at higher risk include those with malabsorption problems like Crohn's disease or celiac disease, people who've had gastric bypass surgery, infants fed only cow's milk, and anyone taking high-dose zinc supplements because zinc competes with copper for absorption. Doctors diagnose it by testing blood levels of copper and a protein called ceruloplasmin. The good news is that most people can meet their copper needs easily through food. The recommended intake for adults is about 900 micrograms per day, which is a very small amount. Foods that are naturally rich in copper include shellfish, especially oysters and crab, plus nuts and seeds like cashews, almonds, and sunflower seeds. Whole grains like quinoa and barley are also great sources, along with dark chocolate, which is always a fun one to mention. And for people who eat them, organ meats like liver contain the highest amounts of copper. As long as someone eats a variety of whole, minimally processed foods, they usually don't need supplements. Copper toxicity is rare, and it almost never comes from food. Most cases happen because of supplements, contaminated water, or a genetic condition called Wilson's disease, where the body can't get rid of excess copper. The upper limit for copper is 10 milligrams per day, which is way higher than what someone would normally get from the diet. But if someone did take in too much, symptoms could include nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, and in extreme cases, liver damage because copper accumulates in the liver over time. One of the most interesting things about copper is how closely it's tied to iron. You can actually have a perfectly normal iron levels, but if you don't have enough copper, your body still can't make healthy red blood cells. So copper deficiency doesn't just cause anemia, it can hide as iron deficiency. Another cool fact is that copper is essential for energy production. Even though we need such tiny amounts, without it, our cells can't complete the electron transport chain, so even basic body functions start slowing down. And copper has this really long historical presence. It's one of the first metals humans ever used thousands of years ago, but at the same time, it was always quietly playing a role in human biology. My references for this presentation were Understanding Nutrition and the National Institutes of Health Office of Dietary Supplements. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helped you understand why copper is such an important micronutrient even though we only need a tiny amount of it.